Nishanti Sevaya Punaha Kutonyat Kalavi Plutam Matsivaya Katitam Te Salokyadi Shatushayam Nishanti Sevaya Punaha Kutonyat Kalavi Plutam
Matsivaya pratintam te
Matsivaya Pratitam Te
Sarokyadi chatushtayam
Salokyadi
Nishanti sevaya purnam
Nishanti Sevaya Punaha
Kutonyat kalavi plutam
Kutonyat Kalavi Plutam Matsivaya Pratitam Te Salokyadi Shatushayam Nishanti Sevaya Punaha Kutonyat Kalavi Plutam
Matsevaya pratitam te
Matsivaya Pratitam Te
Salokyadi Chatustayam
Salokyadi Shatushayam
Nishanti Sevaya Puna
Nishanti Sevaya Punaha
Kuto Anyat Kalaviplutam
Kutonyat Kalavi Plutam Vaishnavi
Matsevaya pratitam te
Matsivaya Pratitam Te
Salokyadi Satushayam
Salokyadi Shatushayam
Nishanti Sevaya
Nishanti Sevaya
Puna
Punaha
Kutonyat Kalaviputam
Kutonyat Kalavi Plutam. Synonyms Matsivaya, by being engaged fully in my transcendental loving service. Okay. Pratitam, automatically achieved. Te, such pure devotees are fully satisfied. Shalokya Adishatushayam, the four different types of liberation, Salokya, Sadupya, Samipaya, and Sajti. What to speak of Sayujya. Yeah. Na, not, Ichanti, desai, Sevaya, simply by devotional service. Purna, fully complete. Kutaha, where is the question? Anyat, other things. Kalavi Plutam, which are finished in the course of time. Translation by His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My devotees were always satisfied to be engaged in my loving service, are not interested even in the four principles of liberation. Salokya, Salupya, Samipya, and Sajti, although these are automatically achieved by their service. What then is to be said of such perishable happiness as elevation to the higher planetary systems? Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bilva Mangala Thakur has estimated the value of liberation as follows. Mukti svayam mukudi tanjali sevatismam dharmata kama gattaya samaya praktishaha. Bilva Mangala Thakur realized that if one develops his natural devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukti stands before him with folded hands, to offer all kinds of service. In other words, the devotee is already liberated. There is no need for him to aspire for different types of liberation. The pure devotee automatically achieves liberation even without desiring it. So here, this verse is actually speaking about the four kinds of liberation one can achieve while practicing devotional service. Actually, in the 60s, when I joined Krishna Consciousness, the whole youth was looking to the philosophy of the East. And liberation was a big, big goal. Everybody was dreaming of liberation. I remember when I first met a devotee, I was with two friends who also became devotees. One was Jyotirmai Devidasi, and we decided at some point to try to find a spiritual master. So we were studying in university ethnology, the different way the ancient tribes of the world were actually living and understanding who is God, is there a God, what is the cosmic manifestation. So we did not know if we were going to find our spiritual master amongst the Eskimo tribes or the African Dogon. And we also had a Vedanta teacher, Mayavadi Sannyasi. It was in the Sorbonne. And he was talking about impersonal philosophy. And we thought to reach the absolute truth, we had to actually study Mayavadi philosophy. So we decided to go to India. And for that, we needed to do a little student job to get the ticket. So it was a very simple job to distribute publicity leaflets in the mailing box. We were a few students, and in the morning we used to go in a van to go to different cities. And there was a young boy, French boy, coming from America. He had a little tuft of hair at the back of his head. And he saw us reading our books, in personalist books all the time. He said, "Are you interested in spiritual life?" I remember I told him, "We are living for spiritual life." Then he says, "There is this book, Srimad Bhagavatam. You open it and you find liberation from samsara, from the cycle of birth and death." And I looked at him and I said, we want liberation, but we didn't know what kind of liberation. So what is liberation? What is liberation for a materialistic? Tell me. What liberation from what?
From suffering.
Yes, absolutely. What else?
Getting free out from suffering and shanti, shanti, shanti.
Yeah, shanti, shanti, finding peace. Yeah, it reminds us, of course, of Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha came, and there was some astrologer told his father, who was king, that he will actually become a great renounced sage. So all kind of suffering couldn't be seen by Lord Buddha. Even the aging father was actually dyeing his hair black. So Lord Buddha couldn't see that old age was actually striking. He couldn't see any suffering, any miseries. But one day when nobody looked, he went out of the palace, and then he could see all the sufferings of material existence. He could see death, old age, disease, birth. I don't remember if he saw birth. But then he saw it was actually hidden from him. And he realized where is all this suffering coming from? It's actually coming from desires. And his teaching was actually to deny all desires. And what is liberation for a devotee?
Service.
Yes, absolutely. And
Goloka Vrindavan.
Haribol, Haribol. And what is, yeah, you said it, but how can we express what we expect to reach with this liberation as devotees? Of course, Goloka Vrindavan, and what else?
Yeah, the particular rasa with Krishna forever.
Yes.
Absorption in that rasa and stuff.
Yes. So we're going, actually, we hope that's the goal and the aim of liberation for devotee, to revive our lost relationship with the Lord. So let us go into these 4 stages of liberation. It is said they are automatically attained by a devotee. So the first one is Saloka. You remember Saloka? What is that kind of liberation?
Yes, living on the same planet than the Lord.
Yes, and specifically, not for us, because the Gaudiya Vaishnava, we want to go to Vrindavan specifically, or to the planet where Lord Chaitanya is actually having his pastimes. I don't know if some of you come from England. Anybody? Did you hear about a devotee called Kulangana?
Mother Kalangana?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was very unusual, very saintly devotee. And when she was on the verge of actually leaving this body, many great devotees came to see her, to take association. And there was a very nice devotee, one Swami, I forgot, a disciple of Radha Swami.
Bhakti Yoga.
Indian one or Malaysian. Anyway, very wonderful devotee. He said, Mother Kulangana, if you have the choice, who would you like to be? Would you like to be a Gopa or a Gopi? And she became very angry. She said, I just want to go with Lord Chaitanya. So, but most of the spiritualists, when they think of going to the planet where the Lord is, except us, they think of Vaikuntha. What means Vaikuntha?
Without anxiety.
Absolutely. And we were, Vaikuntha means free from anxiety. Srila Prabhupada used to say, if you chant nicely your 16 rounds in the morning, all day, you will be protected. You will be in a bubble of Vaikuntha, free from anxiety. So the material world, as we know, and as we saw, is full of fears, full of anxiety. I was looking up, it was some data from 2023, and it says that in the world, worldwide, about 284 million people are suffering from anxiety disorders, and 264 million are suffering from depressive disorders. But of course, not everybody is listed, because not everybody goes to the doctor to express suffering of that kind. And even other data says in 2024, it has increased by 18%. So the whole world is suffering from anxiety practically. And we can see that the external situation brings so much anxiety when we don't take full shelter of Krishna. If we look at the news, you will hardly find any good news. It will be a disaster, wars, and everybody is actually watching the news to see disasters, and they become full of anxiety. Like now we can see so many wars are going on simultaneously, and they impact the geopolitical system, and we don't know to where it's going to lead from a material point of view. Even it's very hard just today to buy tickets to India because Pakistan has closed the flying borders, same as India. So anxiety everywhere. Like Maharaj was quoting yesterday, Winston Churchill, you remember what he said about communism?
Yes, equal distribution of distress.
Of miseries.
Yes, yeah, communism and other many isms are actually the distribution of miseries. Yeah. So what makes us fearful? Because we are devotees, and we know that fear personified is afraid of Krishna. So what makes us fearful? Why are we fearful?
Yeah.
Yes,
As devotees or
as devotees.
Oh. Slack in our practice.
Very surely, yeah.
Lack of surrender mentality to Krishna. Lacking of surrender mentality to Krishna.
Yes.
Committing offenses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. And actually, it's but also everything you said is absolutely correct. What makes us fearful is ignorance or just theoretical knowledge that we are not this body. Because we identify with our body, our mind, and in that state, we are always afraid of losing something we are attached to. So there is a very nice example of that kind of suffering. You might have heard of the first Soviet devotee, Ananta Shanti. At that time, it came a time, in the beginning everything was quite secret, but it came a time when the secret police, the KGB, heard about Krishna consciousness. And the communist regime at that time was actually describing how they had three enemies. First enemies was rock and roll music. Second, Coca-Cola. And third, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So then they started persecution, and they captured the devotees. Jai, Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. They captured the devotee, they arrested them, they took him to jail, to camp. And dear Ananta Shanti was taken again to jail to be interrogated by the KGB for the third time. What the secret police wanted was for the devotees to tell publicly that we deny Krishna consciousness. It's not good for people. Then they would have been released and free to practice at home very secretly. But no devotee accepted that. it was, they wanted actually them to do what Saint Peter did when he denied Lord Jesus Christ. But the devotees wouldn't do that. So at that time, Anantashanti Prabhu was taken to a damp, dark jail, and he knew he was going to be interrogated, tortured. He had been before. Then he thought, this time I cannot take it. I cannot do it anymore. I will say anything they want. I cannot take it anymore. And something extraordinary came. A verse of Bhagavad Gita came very, very strongly. It was not, of course, we love Bhagavad Gita. We have realizations when we read Bhagavad Gita. But it was not that kind. It came as Krishna himself, very, very strongly, like bringing light into the dark cell. And that verse, it was a beautiful verse. It was chapter 2, verse 23, 24. Maybe some of you know, or some of you can read it in English.
Nanam Chintanti Shastrani, Nanam Dahati Kavata, Chainam Kaidiranta, Pona Shoshayati Maruta, Na Teraham Dadoyam,
Wow.
Clear Shoshayla Chan, Nitisara Santanu, Achalo Yam Natana. The soul can't be burned by fire. You can't, or cut by a weapon. You can't be burned by fire. You can't be moistened by water. You can't be withered by the wind.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, the soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon. It cannot be burned by fire. It cannot be moistened by water, no, withered by the wind. Then it goes on saying, the individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can never be burned, nor tried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable. Krishna bless you. Immovable and eternally the same. So that verse came so strong that our Prabhu saw all his fear go away. Krishna came at that verse and he realized, I'm not that body, I'm the soul. They can torture me, but that's not me. And I'm free, I'm the soul. And actually, he went very peacefully into being interrogated and tortured, because Krishna really helped him. You are the soul. So that's why Krishna consciousness, but it's not easy to reach all the time. Right? So the second one is Sarupya. Sarupya. Anybody remembers?
Same form.
Absolutely. Same body features as the Lord. Do you remember who had the same body features as the Lord? Uddhava.
Oh,
And?
in the Vaikuntha Jayavija.
Yeah, the Vaikuntha, yeah, inhabitants. So let's read a little bit from Krishna book, how Uddhava looked when he delivered the message to the gopis. When the gopis saw Uddhava, they could see that his features almost exactly resembled those of Lord Krishna. And they could understand he was a great devotee of Krishna. His arms were very long and his eyes just like lotus flowers. He was dressed in yellow garment and he wore a garland of lotus flowers. His face was very beautiful. Having achieved the liberation of Sarupya, and as having the same bodily features as the Lord. Uddhava looked almost like Krishna. When the gopis saw that Uddhava was representing Krishna, even in his bodily features, they thought he must be a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They began to contemplate, who is this boy who looks exactly like Krishna? He has the same eyes, lotus petal, the same raised nose and beautiful face, and he's smiling in the same way. In all respects, he resembles Krishna. Shyamasundar, the beautiful blackish boy, is even dressed like Krishna. Where has this boy come from? Who is the fortunate girl who has him for husband? They were very anxious to learn about him. And because they were very simple, unsophisticated village girls, they went and they surrendered Uddhava. But not everybody has that same opulence of looking like Krishna. But some people want it right now. Do you remember an example of that in Krishna book?
Pundaka.
Yeah. The man who wanted to impress Lord Krishna, so he made two fake arms, like he had 4 arms like Lord Vishnu. He was pretending he was actually the 4-armed Lord Vishnu. So then, number 3, we have Sarshti, that opulence, to have actually the same opulences as the Lord. So most of the conditional souls, if we fell into this material world, we actually wanted to be little Krishna. And we are trying in this world to have the same opulences. But it's actually a dream that people will never achieve, to have the same opulences as Krishna. So the 4th is actually Samipya. You remember? To have constant association with the Lord, Samipya. And so we can see that these 4 kinds of liberations, they are awarded by the Lord out of His mercy. But what does the pure devotee think of these liberations? Does he want them?
Sarupi Kedvan, dear Madame la Cliente, without service, those liberations are of no value.
Oh, it's beautiful verse, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes even the pure devotee is rejecting some of these liberations if they think it can actually hinder his devotional service. And we can see here Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Srimad Radharani in the beautiful Sishastakam verses. Completely in the mood of Radharani, he says, somebody wants, it's the verse, I know no one but Krishna is my Lord. Somebody wants to recite him with a beautiful tone. It's Ashley. Make a beautiful tone for the pleasure of Lord Chaitanya.
Shishya Padavatam Pinashtumam Darshanan Marmahatam Karutva Tatha Bhavidadhaturam Patu Matfananathastu Sevana Paraha.
Haribol, Haribol. I know no one, but Krishna is my Lord, and he should always remain as such. Even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, So that can be considered like very close association. But then Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, says, oh, if he makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. So here, one way or the other is equal to the pure devotee. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. And we have the same example in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Mukunda Datta Mukunda was actually chastised by Lord Chaitanya because he had associated with some Mayavadi, and Lord Chaitanya didn't want to see him anymore. And Mukunda became so distressed. So the devotee pleaded, because devotees are always very merciful. Krishna bless you again. and they plead to Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to Mukunda. And Lord Chaitanya said, I can't remember, but maybe in 1,000,000 births, he can come and see me again. And when Mukunda heard it, he thought he was in complete ecstasy. In 1,000,000 births, I'm going to meet Lord Chaitanya. So he was not looking for constant, immediate association. He was ready to wait 1,000,000,000 births to meet the Lord. So there is another kind of liberation, but it was not listed here, although in the word transliteration it was mentioned. It says what to speak of. Do you remember the Sanskrit name for that liberation?
Saujya.
Yes, Saujya. The devotees that they don't want at all. That when I joined with my friend, we wanted. It's to become one with the Lord. It reminds me of a little pastime of Srila Prabhupada. When we came in London to meet Srila Prabhupada, that first week, it was actually the last day Srila Prabhupada was in London at that time. He had been installing Shri Radhananda, the beautiful Shri Radhananda. He gave a class. It was Sunday. He was supposed to take a flight probably to America next day. And he finished this class. He sat on the Vyasa-san and he asked for questions. And there was one Indian gentleman who raised his hand. So Prabhupada says, yes. But it was not a question. That man said, Krishna is not God. God doesn't have any form. And Srila Prabhupada became so angry. He became all red. And he started to defend Krishna. Because if you say Krishna is no form, you want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti or whatever, it means it's an insult to Krishna. It's like to say he has no leg, he's handicapped, he has no ears, he's deaf, and so on and so on. So he became very angry. And he started to scream at the man, and he became red. And he said, you are a rascal, you are a fool, you are an ass. How do you dare? You know, and he went on and on. And we were very, very confused because we thought it was correct. And more than that, we had read in our impersonalist book that one shouldn't be angry. So every evening we used to ask each other in French, so nobody could understand. Do you think Srila Prabhupada is our real spiritual master? Est-ce que, to each other, my friend and us, est-ce que tu penses que Prabhupada est notre vrai maître spirituel? And that day we were very sadly obliged to say no. A true spiritual master controls his senses. He doesn't become angry. We didn't know one should be angry when Krishna, Srimad Radharani Krishna, the Lord, Lord Chaitanya, is actually insulted. So very sadly, we started to pack everything because for spiritual life was very important, and we wanted a true spiritual master. But before we could leave in the morning, Yamuna Devi came and she said, Prabhupada wants to see you. So we didn't tell anybody we were leaving. So we went up, and Prabhupada didn't talk philosophy. He was just very, like usual, so kind, so, you know, I remember he asked me if I knew how to type, probably to type, transcribe his lectures, but I didn't know to do anything. So I said, no, Srila Prabhupada. And when we came out, we didn't know why, but we didn't want to leave anymore. Prabhupada saved us for becoming one with the Lord and then coming back down in the world of birth and death. So that was so much mercy. So that's Sayujya, to become one, to merge into the existence of the Lord. Then, do we go on until 9 usually? Okay.
You can leave 5 to 10 minutes for question.
Okay. So just a little point. The verse is talking about at the end of the verse. It says what to speak. Let's see. I'll get the verse again. So, yeah. It said, what then is to be said of such perishable happiness as elevation to the higher planetary system? And of course, this is a very temporary liberation, so to call it. It's not a real liberation. When I say temporary, for thousands and thousands and thousands of our years. But some people are really looking forward, but the devotees are very afraid of that kind of temporary liberation. Although it seems to be materially wonderful. Yeah. So here Prabhupada talk about it in the letter to Jayananda Prabhu, one of our first saints in ISKCON. Jayananda, such a wonderful devotee, very pure. Prabhupada loved him so much. He had so much potency that one devotee is telling, I wanted maybe to enter the ISKCON temple. I don't remember in which city in America. And I saw one man was actually emptying the garbage, like a garbage man, devotee but garbage man. And I started talking to him. And then he convinced me so much that I became a devotee. And I came in the temple. I thought, if the garbage man is so extraordinary, what to speak of what I'm going to find inside. And that garbage man was Jayananda Prabhu, very humble. So he's actually dying of cancer. And Prabhupada, he has passed away. He left in 77, the same year of Srila Prabhupada. The letter is dated in May. Prabhupada will leave this world in November. So Prabhupada is saying how he's feeling so much separation from him. So we can see when a devotee passes away, in a way we are happy because we know the destination will be good. Either they will go back to Krishna, or at least it will be, they will take a very good birth to take Krishna consciousness again. So Prabhupada is remembering how Jayananda gave him the first donation in ISKCON, $5,000 to actually printing Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada remembers. And he says, after that you rendered so much wonderful service to Krishna, such as building the Rathayatra cart and putting up a Rathayatra festival in America. And he said, Prabhupada said, I so hope that at the time of your death, you were remembering Krishna. And as such, I hope you have been promoted to the eternal association of Krishna. If not, if you had any tinge, small, of material desires, you have gone to the celestial kingdom to live with the demigods for many thousands of years and enjoy the most opulent life of material existence. So devotees are very frightened of that. Of course, as Prabhupada will say, from that platform, some pure devotees are coming there, like Narada Muni. So you can go directly to the spiritual world from that platform. But it's very, very difficult because there is so much opulence. And it's said, for example, that the celestial Apsara ladies or the men, they look so beautiful, perfect beauty, that just by, if we, in our body now, if we saw them, we will just faint, Prabhupada says, because so much beauty. So devotees are very frightened. They don't want to go to the heavenly planets. I was actually doing some programs for a week in Dubai. And even in Dubai, it's very, devotees live a very opulent life. But they are so sincere. And I was very impressed by their sincerity. Most of their question was, we live now in such an opulent way. We try to do our best to remember Krishna, to serve. But they're asking, do you think that living in such an opulent way will check us to go back home, back to Godhead? You know, so it's very hard in with such opulence, and that's nothing compared to the heavenly planets. It's very hard to always remember Krishna, not to accept any enjoyment for ourselves. It's very, very difficult. That's why sometimes in this world, even for devotees, sometimes we have big challenge, we have sufferings, and some devotees, they become angry at Krishna. I could see some God brothers or God sisters, they even doubt the existence of Krishna. They say, it's not possible. Why is Krishna doing this to me? I gave all my life to Krishna. I gave my best years to Krishna. Why is he doing that to me? He must not be existing. If he's existing, he's so ungrateful. But it's not like that at all. It's not that Krishna wants to punish us. He just wants us to understand we don't belong to this world. That this world is not meant for lady or for gentlemen. So Prabhupada tells our Jayananda that even if you have a little tinge of material desire, you will be promoted for many, many thousands of years into the heavenly kingdom. But even if one fails to promote himself to the spiritual world, at that time, from there, from the heavenly kingdoms. At that time, he comes again to this earth in a very good situation. He can take birth in a big family, like a family of yogi or brahmana, or he can take birth in a very rich aristocratic family. And there is a chance to revive our Krishna consciousness again. So we can see in our life, sometimes we are wondering, who were we in our past life? Did we start Krishna consciousness in our past life? So Prabhupada is giving different answers at different times. Sometimes he says, some devotees asking, how come I came to meet you? How come I got that wonderful opportunity? So Srila Prabhupada sometimes says, it's causeless mercy, meaning we didn't deserve it. We just, it's because of the pure devotee, causeless mercy. But sometime at the time he said, you were sent by my spiritual master. And there is an amazing verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Unfortunately, I don't remember the quote, and saying that one who's taking to Krishna consciousness, he maybe one of our pandits here will remember, when was taken to Krishna consciousness, he has already performed all the sacrifices and yagya, and anybody got...
Because
Oh my God.
Bhakta Pacha Torgariyan Jiva Grevarte Nama Trivyam Pasta Pastes Arya as it Pasta Pastes
Nama grignante.
Amami to Nama Granati.
Haribo.
It's from the teachings of Lord Kapila.
Yes. Can you tell the verse? If you find it.
Yeah, I can look it up.
But it can be also out of causeless mercy. Prabhupada talks sometimes of little animals who were eating Krishna prasadam on the altar, and they took birth as devotees.
Shall I read the
Please.
translation? Oh, how glorious are those whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, you must have bathed at all holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required.
Can you tell me the verse? I'll write it. Which?
Yeah, it's 333:7.
3:33:7.
By
Kapila Deva.
Bhakti, mother of
It's not Kapila Deva. Yeah. So we hope not to go to the heavenly planets, because it can be very dangerous, very dangerous. So you know, of course, the verse of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 41, just the English. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
641. 641.
Oh, it's 6, it's not 8. Yeah, let me correct.
No,
Yeah, thank you for it.
yeah.
Thank you.
I only remember the numbers. Yeah.
Oh, no, no, I'm very impressed. I know Srila Prabhupada is very pleased that you, most of you remember, the verses, the Sanskrit, English. He's very proud of you. So in the purport, it's nice also, it says that the unsuccessful yogi, I divided into two classes of people. And it's quite far out. One who is fallen after very little progress. It means maybe, 1 month or even not that. And the other category, one who falls down after long practices of yoga. So I heard in a class something very interesting about difficulties we have in Krishna consciousness when we progress. After many years of practice, sometimes we see some anartha or some situation coming up we would never think it would happen. And one preacher, Russian preacher, was actually saying that it's where we didn't succeed last life. Last life, because we didn't succeed last life, we came back here. Unless some of you are sent directly from spiritual world to preach, but for most of us, we didn't succeed, so we came back. And it says that when we will see this anartha, these temptations, we shouldn't be surprised. It's where we actually fail last life. So we should be very tolerant. We should use the weapon of knowledge to succeed this time. So two categories. So Prabhupada says, and it's really impressive, the yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets. So it's so much mercy in a way. And where pious living entities are allowed to enter. And after long life, is sent back again to take birth in the family of Brahmana, Vaishnava, etc. So our conclusion, because we follow in the footsteps of Prabhupada, our spiritual masters, our Acharya, ideally, we don't want specifically this liberation. And if they actually stop us to be in the mood of service, if they stop us to be humble, we don't want to take them. And comes to mind the story of Sudama Vipra, Krishna's friend. You remember, he was very poor, and his wife urged him, your friend Krishna is living in so many palaces in Dwarka. Look, we hardly have anything to eat. You should go. We should go. You should go and see your friend Krishna. And he's your friend. He can just give you a drop of opulence. Please go and see him. And she gives him this little chipped rice. That's the kind of rice poor people can afford and eat. And she says, you will give this to Krishna, you have to give him a gift. Then Sudama Vipra comes and he sees his very beloved friend. They remember when they were lost in the forest, sent by their spiritual master. They remember times of their childhood. And of course, he doesn't want to ask anything. He doesn't want to ask anything. He doesn't want even to give this very poor offering. But Krishna knows. He knows everything. He knows he has this little bag of very probably tasteless rice, chipped rice. And he says, you have brought something for me. And Sudama Vipra, very shy, said, no, I have nothing. But Krishna is taking, and he's taking with force that chipped rice, and he's starting to eat, and with so much delight, because he's sitting the love and the devotion and the humility of Sudama Vipra. And Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, in the form of Rukmini, she's stopping him. She said, no, no, stop it. You know, I cannot reward enough Sudama Vipra. I cannot reward him, you have to stop. So Sudama is in full ecstasy, he goes, but he didn't ask anything. He didn't want to ask any liberation, such as the same opulence as the Lord. And what is he seeing when he goes home? What is he seeing? Yes, a beautiful palace. What else?
Wife is
The wife who had torn sari, she's looking like a goddess of fortune. And he has to accept that liberation, that kind of liberation, that kind of boon, opulence, because that's the way the Lord has expressed his love. So that's really interesting that when someone becomes a pure devotee, it's actually a competition between Krishna and the devotee, a competition of service, a competition of love. Krishna is most happy in Vrindavan when he is actually in the position he forgets he's God. Nobody is reminding him he's God. And then it's a competition of love. He's actually we can say he becomes a prisoner in the network of the love of the devotee. He becomes, indebted to that love. We can see with Mother Yashoda, what to speak of Srimati Radharani. So these devotees, they don't want this liberation. They don't want to go into the heavenly planets. But sometimes, as the case of Sudama Vipra, they cannot do anything by accepting that reciprocation of Krishna. And even us in our neophyte stage, when we have big challenges, big suffering, extreme, and when we don't leave Krishna's service, when we are grateful, when we tell Krishna, I don't understand why, but it must be some meaning behind it, then that will pass, suffering will pass, and Krishna will give so much mercy, because we will have passed the test with gratitude and humility. And it will be so much mercy that, as Srila Prabhupada's father said, Krishna has thousands of hands and we have only 2 hands. How much can we accept with 2 hands? So that's the life of the devotee. He's satisfied to serve very, very humbly and accept whatever Krishna sends. But it's not easy, but we know from the scriptures, we know from the saintly devotees, that's actual liberation. So now, dear Prabhu, our time is up, but if you want to share anything, or if you have one question, I can try to answer, or our wonderful devotees can also answer. Anybody wants to share or to ask anything? Yes, dear Rini.
How can we recognize the test of Krishna?
How can we?
Recognize the test of Krishna.
Oh, actually, it's very easy, because as a devotee, it's always a test of Krishna. It's a test of Krishna. I mean, for devotee, it's not material nature. It's really Krishna testing us. Of course, if we fall, if we don't pass the test, then material nature is going to act. But it's a test of Krishna when we have difficulties. Like Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta during the Second World War, and you know, the German plane were actually throwing bombs in Calcutta, and everybody was going to the shelter. But Prabhupada was taking prashadam, and he thought, no, I'm not going to the shelter. He was taking prashadam. And then he said, and even if a bomb comes, it will be Krishna. I mean, any challenge we have with difficulties, they are tests sent to us by, you know, Krishna, or even Maya Devi is a very faithful and wonderful servant of Krishna. She's testing us to make sure if we go to the spiritual world, we won't be out of place. You know, if we still have material desires, and if somehow or other we cheat and find a way to go to the spiritual world, we won't be comfortable there. Like that, you know. So these tests, these challenges, they are to make us become what we are meant to be, a real servant of Krishna. Yeah. If I had more time, I will talk more. It's a whole seminar, that subject, but probably.
Thank you for a lot of very nice topics and devotion in your class. And the subject of fear, you know, one might have knowledge that Krishna is very merciful, that he loves us, that the spiritual master, like Srila Prabhupada, loves us. But is it logical to believe that, you know, I never had any personal association with Srila Prabhupada, so I wasn't able to serve his Bhagavad. But is it like the fear of not being able to serve a pure devotee, is that a genuine fear?
Oh yes, it's a genuine fear. And Prabhupada was telling us, actually, you're not enough afraid of Maya, you know. And he was telling, I am afraid of Maya. I'm praying not to fall to Maya. Of course, I don't think Prabhupada could ever fall into Maya. But he was giving the example. And this fear is completely genuine, not to be able to serve the Vaishnava. You know, it's a beautiful fear. But Prabhuji, there was a Russian devotee, a preacher. I'm serving a lot in these countries. And when I met him first, he told me, as you express, not fully express, but I could feel, he was saying, Mondakini, my strongest, my deepest regret was actually to be born too late, not to have the association of Srila Prabhupada. He was born in 71 when Prabhupada came to Russia, to Moscow. And then from within, I told him, and I will tell you the same, don't worry, Prabhu, maybe you didn't see Srila Prabhupada physically, but Srila Prabhupada is seeing you. And you can serve Srila Prabhupada through your wonderful spiritual master. That's actually what your spiritual master, wonderful spiritual master, wants. By assisting your spiritual master through the mission, you serve also directly through your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, being like your spiritual grandfather, is very kind to you. He sees your endeavor, he sees your successes, you know, he sees sometimes your failure, but he's always with you also. He's very concerned about the future generations. So don't think you have no connection with Srila Prabhupada. Of course, through your beloved spiritual master. But Prabhupada is not limited by time and space. Is not limited by not being in this body. There was one, Prithu Prabhu. When Prabhupada left, he had a dream. Prabhupada told him, showing the samadhi, where his body was actually buried in salt. Prabhupada was laughing and telling Prithu, they think I'm here, in the samadhi. Meaning, no, he is with us.
I was saying that my fear is not that I don't serve Srila Prabhupada, but serving a pure devotee.
Yes.
Right? Who's living, because bhakti is so attractive even in the loka that they take birth to experience bhakti in the material universe.
Yeah.
But that's only because they want to serve pure devotee.
Yes.
So my fear is not that I don't serve Srila Prabhupada, it's that I don't serve a pure devotee in this lifetime.
Oh.
Not Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, but you're serving pure devotees. Prabhupada, of course, we can say it's the different level of pure devotees. But one time Prabhupada said about the students, they're all pure devotees. So don't feel this fear. I think it's good to have this fear. But you can pray, you will, just by doing the service you are doing, you're serving so many pure devotees. Prabhupada, our Pastacharya, Lord Chaitanya, I guess you're doing Sankirtan, maybe. You're doing book distribution. Yeah. Lord Chaitanya came and he said, you remember that beautiful text in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when he said, I came as a gardener and I've planted the seed of Krishna Prema. And I watered the seed with the water of my sweet will. And then he said, but so many fruits have come. The bushes have become trees and so many fruits have come. And I have only 2 hands to distribute this fruit. Everybody has to help me. If not, people will escape the network of Krishna Prema. So only 2 hands. So you're doing that, like Prabhupada was sent by the Lord to publish these books, to give people a chance to back home, back to Godhead. So, and one thing also Prabhupada said, very famous, he said one day to one devotee, you have something I don't have. And the devotee said, Prabhupada, it's not possible. How can I have something you don't have? And he was trying, scratching his head, what can it be? And Prabhupada said, that's the future on this earth planet. So all of you are Prabhupada's future. And you're serving pure devotees. A pure devotee, of course, it can be a pure devotee like Prabhupada coming directly from the spiritual world, but it can be pure devotee also between us. Maybe somebody who will clean every day the toilet, maybe a pure devotee. We don't always know, and we shouldn't try to discriminate unless there is an important issue that then we shouldn't be blind. But we shouldn't try to discriminate. Is Rasalila a pure devotee? Is Harini a pure devotee? Like that. Of course, in a way, you are pure devotees. But it's between Krishna and you are serving pure devotee. Don't have that fear. And still we are doing it now. I really pray that you go back directly to Krishna. But even if you have to come back to this world, you will be again serving pure devotees. There is no, but keep being afraid. Then Krishna will make sure to satisfy you in that way. You know. Thank you so much for the beautiful question. So I think we might finish here. And I thank you very much to be so tolerant, to be so inspiring for me to try to say a few words for the pleasure of their lordships and Srila Prabhupada.
Mondakini mtj.
Hare Krishna.